Hello, welcome to Continental Prime here on News Central Television, reaching you live from Nigeria's economic capital, Lagos. The headlines for this are: the trial of 14 alleged killers of Burkina Faso's former leader Thomas Sankara began today in the capital, Ouagadougou. Mozambican rebel leader Mariano Longo killed in gun battle with government troops. Tunisia's President Kais Saied names new government. Details shortly. For viewers across the continent and the rest of the world, this is Continental Prime. I'm Sulaiman Aleda. The news begins in West Africa, where cabinet members in Nigeria met today in the country's capital, Abuja, to review their performance midway into the second term of President Muhammadu Buhari. At the retreat, President Buhari assured Nigerians that the 11.9-kilometer second Niger Bridge and the 120-kilometer Lagos-Ibadan Expressway would be completed before the end of his administration. He also listed accomplishments in infrastructure, transportation, economy, electricity supply, the petroleum industry, and others. Staying in Nigeria, the ruling All Progressives Congress has set up a National Reconciliation Committee expected to resolve party differences arising from its various states, local governments, and world congresses. The committee is expected to reach out to aggrieved members before its upcoming national convention and help resolve their differences. The chairman of the APC tasked the committee to remain resolute and work as a team in achieving their set objectives.
The task before this committee is very important and crucial. The committee is to reconcile, harmonize, integrate, and unite members of the party. It is also expected to resolve real and seeming differences and to cement all cracks for us to approach the National Convention with a united front. Will indicate our readiness as a united and strong family for the National Convention. Your assignment, therefore, has great impact and influence on the convention. I enjoin members of the committee to remain resolute and dedicated to execute this assignment with a spirit of teamwork, taking the interests of the party above personal and selfish interests for APC to remain strong, united, and Nigeria's leading political party.
We accept this responsibility with the greatest honor that it deserves to have, the greatest attitude of integrity that it deserves, and the greatest sense of challenge for the expectations that the party has as the ruling party in the very of Nigeria, and for all well-meaning lovers of this great country and lovers of our great party. We will do the best our circumstances will permit us to do to ensure that the confidence so reposed in us by this caretaker committee is not.
Nigeria's federal government has pledged to improve digital knowledge and skills by young Nigerian girls. The acting Minister of State for Education, Dorcas Joshua, made this known during the commemoration of the 2021 edition of the International Day of the Girl Child. Joshua revealed that the current progression of girls from primary school to junior secondary school is at an all-time low. She says the worrisome trend denies them the opportunity to acquire digital knowledge and skills and assures them that the government will do all it can to address this situation.
As the Honorable Minister of State for Education in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I will ensure 1. More secondary schools are built in all states to match the number of girls graduating from primary schools with a maximum of 2 kilometers distance from their homes. 2. Ensure school connectivity to internet with modern facilities for all Nigerian children. 3. Increase investment in education to close the gender digital divide. 4. Invest in knowing more about girls and young women's digital realities and supporting the learning solution that is fit for their digital world.
There is the need for all hands to be on deck in ensuring that Nigerian girls achieve irreversible progress towards gender equality through digital learning in both online and offline environments. Ensuring that students benefit from inclusive learning experiences in both content and access to digital materials is also key to achievement of our economic and societal progress.
Well, just still looking at a face mask. Well, in the world of COVID. But again, still on the International Day of the Girl Child, experts have advocated the need to create more opportunities for girls and young women in Nigeria. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more on this.
Educate the girl child and educate the nation is a typical saying that highlights the importance of the girl child education to national development. International Day of the Girl Child is a day set aside to promote girl rights, highlight gender inequality, and addresses the various forms of discrimination and abuse suffered by girls around the world.
One of the things that girl child faces, that's menstruation. It should be inducted into the syllabus of children in schools. The more you have reproduction, you have sex in biology and integrated science, it should include menstruation. So children at a younger age will get to know these things from a tender age. And at the end of the day, when they grow up, they know that it's normal for the girl child.
I would say we as elders, we as a government, we as a society, we need to put more importance and cognizance on the girl child, because we know that the girl child is basically the future of the world tomorrow.
This year's theme, Digital Generation, Our Generation, focuses on the gender digital divide across the world, which allows girls to be less likely than boys use and own devices, as well as gain access to tech-related skills and jobs.
For girls to be included, first, we have a lot of sensitization has to be done around technology as a whole, as well as digital access, and this has to be done globally. And girls should be at the core of educating others on the importance of digital access and digital safety on the internet. As we all know, there are a lot of positive effects on girls having this access, and this importance should be taught to all parents, girls, women, boys, men, local, national, as well as international communities.
However, tech experts analyze the challenges faced by young women in the country, while urging the government and all stakeholders to give necessary support to young girls and women.
The government and relevant stakeholders should encourage robust rollouts and adoption of STEM across schools. Also, gender stereotypes of boy and girl courses should be highly discouraged, as girls and boys should be exposed to the exact same opportunities.
Whether the girl child chooses a career in tech, medicine, journalism, or theater arts, she needs adequate education to fulfill her potentials. It is hoped that all relevant agencies will bridge the gap in the data of girls who are still yearning for basic education in the country. Omolola Ololade, reporting for News Central.
In Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, 14 men have gone on trial after being accused in the assassination of Burkina Faso's left-wing leader Thomas Sankara nearly 34 years ago. General Gilbert Diendere, one of those accused of Sankara's assassination, was in court on Monday. Meanwhile, Mariam Sankara, the widow of Burkina Faso's former leader Thomas Sankara, accused the country's ex-president Blaise Compaoré of running from the truth. Mrs. Sankara's comment comes ahead of the trial of the suspected killers of her husband. According to her, Compaoré should have the courage to attend the trial, which has come in 34 years after Sankara's assassination. Compaoré, the chief accused, announced through his lawyers last week that he would boycott the trial.
C'est C'est pas juste, bien sûr. C'est vraiment pas juste qu'il ne soit pas là. Il devrait être là. Il devrait avoir le courage d'être là. Mais bon, vous savez, c'est pas tout le monde qui est courageux. Ou il fuit la vérité.
Mais déjà, c'est un jour historique pour nous parce que on ne pensait pas vivre ce jour très spécial. Qu'est-ce qu'on attend? Ben, la vérité. Que justice soit rendue et que de permettre aux familles de Sankara et de ses compagnons de pouvoir enfin faire le deuil. Il y a trop de nœuds dans les gorges. Il y a trop de pierres lourdes dans les cœurs. Et il faut arriver à s'en défaire, même si ce n'est pas totalement, au moins soulager les uns et les autres pour qu'on puisse regarder l'avenir ensemble. Il a passé toute sa vie à fuir ses responsabilités, donc c'est normal qu'il ne soit pas là. Et qu'il soit là ou pas, il y a des témoins qui sont là, il y a des acteurs qui sont là, qui diront ce qui s'est passé. Et après, la justice va trancher. Voilà.
Still on Thomas Sankara, News Central's Ni Omoni looks at the life and times of the man fondly referred to as the African Che Guevara.
Birthed on 21 December 1949 in Yako, French Upper Volta, now Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara was born as the third of 10 children to the family of Joseph and Marguerite Sankara. After basic military training in secondary school in 1966, Sankara began his military career at the age of 19. Returning to Upper Volta in 1972, he fought in a border war between Upper Volta and Mali by 1974, where he earned fame for his heroic performance. In 1976, he became commander of the Commando Training Center in Pau. In the same year, he met Blaise Compaoré in Morocco. Sankara differentiated himself from other government officials in many ways, such as biking to work every day instead of driving in a car, at the time on the verge of war with France in Chad. A coup d'etat organized by Blaise Compaoré, supported by Libya, made Sankara president on 4 August 1983 at the age of 33. It was under his rule that the country was renamed Burkina Faso from Old Upper Volta, meaning land of upright people. Sankara himself led a harsh lifestyle. He reduced his own salary and that of all public servants. He also banned the use of government chauffeurs and first-class airline tickets. Education was key priority while he was in power. The literacy rate increased from 13% in 1983 to 73% in 1987, and he also oversaw a massive national vaccination campaign. He redistributed land from outdated landlords and gave it directly to poor farmers, which led to a huge increase in wheat production.
Alors, pour rester moi-même et pour me sentir moi-même, je suis obligé de continuer dans cette lancée-là.
The charismatic Pan-Africanist was, however, assassinated on October 15, 1987, in a coup led by Compaoré and 2 others. In 2016, the Burkina Faso authorities officially asked the French government to release military documents about Sankara's assassination. Those archives were declassified and transmitted to Burkina Faso in 3 stages, the final one in April 2021. Compaoré, who was denied his involvement in Sankara's murder, has been in exile in Ivory Coast since 2014 after a mass protest triggered by an attempt to extend his tenure. His trial, alongside 13 others, which began on Monday, October 11, 2021, has been referred to as a landmark moment in the 34-year quest for justice led by Sankara's family and supported by many in Burkina Faso. There were fears that the trial would further destabilize Burkina Faso, which is already battling with frequent attacks by jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. On the contrary, Burkina Faso's current president, Marc Kabore, hopes the trial will ease tensions and boost national reconciliation. Despite the passage of time, Sankara, fondly called African Che Guevara, remains something of an icon across Africa, as stickers decorated with his face adorn taxis across West Africa, while in South Africa, radical opposition leader Julius Malema cites him as one of his inspirations. Ni Omani, News Central.
Well, in East Africa, Tigrayan forces in northern Ethiopia say federal troops and their allies have launched coordinated attacks on all fronts. They say heavy artillery, tanks, fighter jets and drones have been used against them. A senior member of the Tigray People's Liberation Front, Getachew Reda, says that Tigrayan forces were holding their ground, adding that the government offensive launched last week was now in full swing. There's been no word so far from Addis Ababa. Now, the African Union says that it will extend and expand its military operations against Al-Qaeda-linked militants in Somalia to include other member states. Its current mandate nears an end on December 31. The plan will need to be endorsed by the UN Security Council and the government in Mogadishu. The AU announced in a statement where it expressed grave concern at the worsening security situation in Somalia, where there had been a worrying resurgence of al-Shabaab activities. The statement also urged Somalia's President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed and Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble to resolve their differences and refocus on concluding the overdue elections without further delay. Now, the United Nations mission in South Sudan and the South Sudan Democratic Monitoring and Engagement Observation Program has called for more people participation in the process of the East African country's national budget. The organizations made the call today during a jointly hosted workshop in the capital city, Juba, where participants discussed processes to enhance public ownership of national resources to boost services for all communities. South Sudan is currently running on an extended budget.
State funds belong to citizens themselves, but without the means to view how they are spent, the public can never fully consider themselves the masters of their government. Popular participation in the national budget process is an essential aspect of economic reform and a prerequisite in facilitating the transparency and accountability. It ensures ownership of public resources by the people and facilitates prudent management and efficient service delivery. Consequently, it is both right and necessary that the recent progress on the peace agreement implementation be accompanied by a broadening and deepening of fiscal transparency.
The budget process comes within the context of the peace implementation. You are aware the revitalized peace agreement signed is under implementation. The agreement inter alia provides a benchmark of reforms, not only in security, political sectors, but also in the economic and financial sectors. Discussing budget in this aspect fits in the grand overarching objective in the agreement aimed at reforming our economic and financial sector. The agreement comes with huge responsibility on the Artigono, the responsibility of reconstruction of the country. The country has been devastated. We lost significant volume of infrastructure and lives. We have displaced population.
In this regard, the role of civil society organizations and civic groups in building partnerships with the legislature is vital for realizing budget transparency. Measures focused on enhancing, in particular, the participation of underrepresented groups, such as women, youth, and disabled people, by creating an enabling environment for their participation, should be mainstreamed into these mechanisms.
I'm happy to be a member of parliament this time. And as I joined the parliament, I believe very much that the parliament is oversight. It's also legislating, and the parliament also represents the will of the people. And therefore, I believe in the role of the parliament in scrutinizing the budget and also ensuring that the voices of the people, the needs of the people are represented in the budget. And also I believe that the role of parliament in debating the budget is very, very important. Involving the voices of the people is very important because it's part of our function to give them a space to express what they want.
Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta is in New York to chair the United Nations Security Council's high-level open debate on diversity, government building and peace. Kenyatta arrived on Sunday for a two-day working visit, which will also see him hold bilateral talks with the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. Mr. Kenyatta will also participate in the Global Leaders high-level discussion organized by the International Peace Institute. During his stay in New York, President Kenyatta will also witness the signing of a new initiative between the Kenya Private Sector Alliance and the Corporate Council on Africa, the largest umbrella body of U.S. companies operating on the African continent. Now let's go to Madagascar, where more than 1 million people, or 2 out of 5 residents of the country's Grand Sud region, require emergency food aid in what the United Nations calls a climate change famine. The UN warning comes as researchers at the University of California say rainfall patterns in Madagascar are growing more erratic, adding that they've been below average for nearly 6 years. In southern Africa, Zimbabwean opposition leader Nelson Chamisa Chamisa's convoy has been attacked with burning logs at a village in southeastern Masvingo province. In a tweet, Chamisa's party, the MDC Alliance, says the logs were used to beat up the delegation and block the road to Charumbira village. The alliance adds that members of Chamisa's entourage have been taken to hospital after being badly injured in the attack by suspected hired thugs. It did not say who exactly was behind the violence. In Mozambique, rebel leader Mariano Nongo has been killed following an intense gun battle with government troops in his forest hideout in central Sofala province. Authorities say Nongo, who led the Renamo military junta, was killed along with a close associate of his. The rebel leader had broken away from Renamo, rejecting a peace deal with President Filipe Nyusi in 2019 to end the conflict. Nongo fighters were responsible for small-scale attacks on civilians. The International Committee of the Red Cross has expressed concern over a water crisis brewing in northern Mozambique. ICRC Director of Operations Dominic Stillhart says residents in the area are in dire need. According to him, the country faces the cumulative effects of a water shortage from extreme weather events and an influx of people displaced by armed conflict with Islamist insurgents in Cabo Delgado province. He highlights that the open water sources from which the residents draw their water for drinking and washing are not to any public health standards.
We spoke to people here who have been displaced multiple times in the past 12 to 18 months, and there is a very serious need to provide more support here in this area of the north of Mozambique. So a lot of people they depend on this type of water, and you can see for yourself this is definitely not to any standards of public health.
Meantime, the African Development Bank Group's board of directors has approved a loan of $86.72 million to co-finance the second phase of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. The group, in a statement, says the multi-phase project will provide water to the Gauteng region of South Africa and generate hydroelectricity for Lesotho. The project entails harnessing the waters of the Senku and Orange River in the Lesotho highlands by constructing a series of dams for the mutual benefit of the two countries. When completed, the project is expected to boost transfer capacity between Lesotho and South Africa to 1,260 million cubic meters per year from the current 780 million cubic meters per year. In North Africa, President Kais Saied has named a new government on Monday, 11 weeks after ousting the Prime Minister and suspended Parliament to assume nearly total control in moves that his critics call a coup. Prime Minister Najla Boudin, appointed by Saied last month, said the government's main priority would be tackling corruption. Still, though Tunisia faces a looming fiscal crisis, she did not rather mention any program of economic reforms. At the ceremony, Saied said he is confident they will move from frustration to hope. He also warned all who would threaten the state to back off. Boudin kept the interim finance and foreign ministers Saied had already installed while naming Tawfiq Shafiddin as interior minister. You're watching Continental Prime. Coming up, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa is closer to 8.38 million. We'll bring you details of this and more when we return. Stay with us. Well, if you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Continental Prime here on News Central Television, reaching you live from Nigeria's economic capital, Lagos. Now, as part of the 2021 World Mental Health Day, Nigerians have been tasked to curb mental health disorders by eliminating the stigma around mental illness. The mental health initiative driven by youth aims to provide an incredible network and professional development opportunities for young people where they can be inspired on mental health education, advocacy, and engagement. This is just as the inauguration of the first mental health fellowship in Nigeria kicked off across the 6 geopolitical zones.
10th of October is the World Mental Health Day, and in year 2021, history is made in Nigeria as the founder of Mental Health Fellowship Nigeria, Kunle Adewale, and his team of youths commemorated this day by launching the first ever Mental Health Fellowship in Nigeria. Through the Mental Health Fellowship, a cross-section of youths aspire to amplify the voices of others at the local, national, and global arenas, doing this through collaboration with relevant government agencies, NGOs, faith-based organizations, civil societies, diplomatic missions, among many others.
Because mental health challenges do not discriminate, together we can raise champions, ambassadors, advocates, activists, and humanists that will make the world a better place.
So this program is directly supporting one of our aims in Nigeria. According to findings from an international survey conducted by UNICEF of children and adults in 21 countries, including Nigeria, one in every 5 young people aged 15 to 24 said they often feel depressed or have little interest in doing things. Without a doubt, Kunle's launch of the Mental Health Fellowship in Nigeria is very timely and much needed.
According to the World Health Organization, half of the mental health illnesses commence before the age of 14 and 2/3 before the age of 24. It is also highlighted that 75 to 90% of people in low and middle income countries are unable to access mental health services at all, and access in high income countries is not better.
We have come such a long way from when mental health challenges were used as weapon of oppression and subjugation to a period when it is now used as a one-size-fits-all excuse to incarcerate and confine, to a time when it was a taboo to speak about one's mental health struggles. Today, the view about mental health has radically changed from the most absurd and extreme to the most subtle and humane.
The theme for the 2021 global and annual event is Mental Health in an Unequal World, aimed at educating people and spreading awareness about the importance of mental health and how one should never neglect its attendant issues.
Now let's look at our daily update on the coronavirus pandemic across Africa, starting with Nigeria, where the West African country says 2 additional COVID-19 related deaths were recorded on Sunday, according to figures released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, which also shows 78 new cases were also recorded in the last 24 hours. In its daily update on Monday, the NCDC says the new infections were recorded in 10 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, adding that the new cases are fewer than the 137 reported a day earlier. The number of COVID-19 related fatalities in Kenya has risen to 5,190 after another 9 patients died from complications from the disease on Monday. The Health Ministry in a statement said 96 new cases were recorded during the period, bringing the country's caseload to 251,248. The statement says the new cases were recorded from a sample size of 3,702, representing a positivity rate of 2.6%. There are currently 724 patients admitted in various hospitals across the country, while another 1,742 patients on the home-based care program. In neighboring Uganda, more vaccination centers have been opened in the capital, Kampala, to inoculate more people against COVID-19. The Ministry of Health says that the new centers would be located in taxi parks and relaxation areas such as the National Stadium, as well as various open spaces. A spokesperson for the ministry says the centers are targeted by priority groups such as the elderly, health workers, teachers, and those with underlying conditions. Still, anyone who turns up would be vaccinated. Uganda aims to vaccinate about 22 million people, or nearly half its population. About a third of all adults in South Africa have received at least one COVID-19 vaccination dose. This is according to the Department of Health, which says more than 19 million vaccines have been administered to 13.4 million people, representing 33% of the total adult population. Till date, the Health Department says 9.9 million people are fully vaccinated, as more than 1.1 million people received their vaccines over the last week. It says its government aims to vaccinate 70% of all adults by the end of December and urged everyone to get their first vaccination doses before October 20. They're also fully so those that are fully vaccinated by the start of the festive season would have been done. The figures would have included those that would have been fully vaccinated before the festive season. Now, the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Africa has drawn closer to 8.39 million on Monday, going by the latest updates from the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The specialized healthcare agency of the African Union in a statement says the death toll from the pandemic across the continent stands at 214,160, while some 7.74 million patients across the continent have so far recovered from the disease. The agency notes that South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, and Ethiopia are among the most cases on the continent. You're watching Continental Prime. Still ahead, Estonia swears in Allah carries as president. We'll have more on this and other stories when we return. Join us again. Estonia has sworn in Allah Carries as its new president. Carries is Estonia's fifth president since the country's independence in 1991. He was elected with 72 of the required 68 votes in the second round of voting held in the country's 101-member parliament. At the inauguration ceremony, outgoing President Kersti Kaljulaid said she was honored to have served for 5 years. President Carries in his speech pointed out the need for Estonia to maintain good relations with its allies.
Ma olen selle üle väga õnnelik, et Eesti on jäänud truuks oma 92. aastal põhiseaduses sõnastatud valikutele, sest ainult selline Eesti saab olla igavesti iseseisev. Ainult sellisel Eestil on maailmas sõbrad ja liitlased, kes tingimusteta tunnistavad meie õigust iseseisvatele otsustele.
Tark rahvas mõtleb piiritusperspektiivis ega karda kohtumist tundmatuga, olgu selleks koroonapandeemia või üleilmne kliimakriis. Tark rahvas mõistab ligimest, evib kaastun.
Sudan expects to return to economic growth this year at nearly 1% of gross domestic product. This is according to the East African nation's finance minister, Jibril Ibrahim, while speaking on Monday at an event hosted by the International Monetary Fund. The minister says the Sudanese government expects growth to expand gradually in the coming years, citing economic reforms, which he said has started bearing fruit. Lekon Nobanjo has the rest of the business news.
Glad to have you join us on Business News right here on NC Continental Prime. I am Lekon Onobanjo. Kodal Minerals PLC on Monday reported high-grade gold mineralization results from exploration at its Nil project in Ivory Coast. The mining company says sampling results of up to 38.5 grams a metric ton were very encouraging, and that the drilling program confirmed an extended initial exploration work. Kodal plans to start drilling again after the fall of the season. According to Kodal's chief executive, Bernard Elwald, the extent of the shallow high-grade gold mineralization will be important to determining as well as continuing to extend the depth of the gold mineralized structures. Meanwhile, Ghana's inflation rate will end this year at 9.8%, in line with the Bank of Ghana's target of 8%, according to the Africa Pulse report by the World Bank. The expected 9.8% inflation rate means that the average change in the price of goods and services will be marginal from now till the end of the year. Inflation surged to 9.7% in August 2021 due to an increase in food and transport prices. According to the World Bank, the recent surge in inflation is due to a weakened cedi, coupled with a rise in food prices. However, inflation will decline further next year, signaling a reduction in interest rates. Now, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Southwestern Nigeria, a few weeks back expressed worries over the negative impact of insecurity on foreign direct investments, that's FDI inflows into the country and the business community at large. This next report evaluates the level of impact and what must be done to salvage the country's economy.
According to the 2021 report of the Institute of Economics and Peace, 8% of Nigeria's gross domestic products, or $132.59 billion, which translate to about 50.38 trillion naira at 380 naira per dollar, have been impacted economically by growing violence around the country. Insurgency, banditry, kidnappings, wanton killings, and civil unrest have all contributed to Nigeria's inability to attract foreign direct investment in recent years, despite government's efforts at securing the country.
The insurgency is forcing investors to concentrate their investments on some sections of the country and not the whole country at large. Why? Because investors need security for their investments. It also denies the population their job opportunities.
Nigeria has reportedly spent at least 6 trillion naira on security in the last decade. In 2020, the Ministry of Defense received 878 billion naira, while in the 2021 budget, defense expenditure earned 840.56 billion naira allocation. However, the slow success in dealing with violence has led to apprehension, anxiety, disruption of business operations and agricultural supply chains, inflation, and increasing economic costs. Perhaps there is a need for a strategic realignment to dealing with the incidences that threaten potential business opportunities.
The solution is very, very simple. Improve security. Because when insecurity continues to spread, investors will not be encouraged. And when investors start seeing Nigeria as such, as the best place to invest, with your security with your investment secured, of course they would be encouraged to increase their investment flow into the country. Nigeria has a number, but what is missing is the motivation, is the financial motivation, the financial incentives. The government should not just disburse or budget certain amount of money, but should ensure the implementation of the budgets, and also ensure the increment of salary.
In this context, experts say there is the need for collective and integrative security architecture at the federal, state, and local governments in Nigeria to deal with insecurity and boost investors' confidence in improving the country's economy. Lekon Onobanjo, reporting for News Central.
Let's also tell you that Ugandan climate activist Vanessa Nakate has visited a vast German open-pit coal mine and a village that is to be bulldozed for its expansion, saying the destruction is really disturbing and has implications far beyond Germany. The visit by Nakate and other young climate activists come a few weeks before United Nations climate talks open in Glasgow, Scotland on October 31. Activists and local residents say expanding the mine runs counter to Germany's goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions to meet the Paris Climate Accords target of capping global warming at 1.5 degrees Celsius. Coal mining is due to end in Germany by 2038, but environmentalists say it needs to stop much earlier. And elsewhere, Africell, the fourth mobile operator in Angola, has selected Angola Cables to provide wholesale IP transit and connectivity solutions for its network. The partnership will give Africell customers high-speed data, low latency, and nationwide internet access through the advanced Angola Cables infrastructure. This robust network currently connects to Angola's primary IXP, Angonix, and provides backhaul support and connectivity to all the major telecom operators in Angola and internationally. And finally, South Africa's energy crisis may threaten the anticipated economic rebound in the fourth quarter of this year, just as prospects are expected to pick up on the back of the July unrest and lockdown restrictions. Eskom last week resumed its rolling blackouts, implementing a week of stage 2 scheduled power cuts, something the utility terms as load shedding, from Thursday due to breakdowns at generation units. The power utility's emergency reserves were depleted faster than expected due to further breakdowns, while delays in returning certain generating units to operation also contributed to the crisis. And that's business news at this hour. More stories on NC Continental Prime will come your way shortly. Do stay with us. I am Lekon Onobanjo.
Many thanks, Lekon. Now the International Day of the Girl Child and NSARS were some of the top online trends today, and Sheon Bankole tells us what people had to say about these stories and more.
It's a brand new week, guys. Welcome to the show that plugs you into the biggest stories from Africa, as well as the varying angles people are discussing from. I am Sean Bankole. Welcome to NC Trends. Now, today, 11th October 2021, the United Nations agency responsible for providing humanitarian aid to children worldwide, I'm talking about the United Nations Children's Fund, also known as UNICEF, commemorates the International Day of the Girl Child. Now, the aim is to address the challenges girls face to promote girls' empowerment and fulfill their human rights. Earlier today, the official UNICEF handle put out a tweet that reads, "Today we are saying every single girl has the right to chase their dreams and develop every skill available to succeed anywhere. This Day of the Girl and every day, let us continue breaking gender stereotypes and help build an equal world for every child." Now, let's see what people are saying below the hashtag. This one reads, "A world without a girl is as impossible as a world without water. Take care of them, they are precious." Hashtag International Girl Child Day. Another one reads, "Lack of access to technology hinders several girls to keep up with the world. Let us work on digital generation, our generation, and make this International Girl Child Day truly a day of the girl by working on ending the digital gap between genders." Hashtag International Day of Girl Child. This one says, "If effectively supported during the adolescent years, girls have the potential to change the world. October 11 is dedicated to the empowerment and safety of the girl child around the world. Let the girl be seen, heard, and supported." Hashtag International Girl Child Day. Now to Lagos, Nigeria. The Commissioner of Police in Lagos, CP Hakeem Odumosu, has warned against any planned protest in the state. The State Police Command disclosed that they have received information of a planned protest to mark 1 year of the EndSARS protest. He warned that the police would not hesitate to use all legitimate means to stop the protest from taking place following the experience from last year. Now, the command further urged parents and guardians to advise their children against participating in planned protests. Of course, this has sparked mixed reactions online. Now, let's see a few of them. Fame says, "Sit-at-home protest will be better. A life lost can never be regained. Please, let's protest online and remember the heroes." Siola Sloye says, "The force has no idea what exactly they are doing. Sometimes their training is so questionable if you can't differentiate a peaceful protest from one that isn't. Go to Echo Bridge and warn the thieves stealing and stop disturbing innocent civilians." Now, another comment says, "Marking the remembrance is super cool, but trust me, that's not what we need to do. We need to get our PVC, that's our permanent voters card, and vote them out. Some so our votes doesn't count. Why do they pay so much and share money during the election if our votes really do not count? Well, if it doesn't, that's because most of us sold the votes. So of course, it won't count, but if we reject the money and bags of rice, then our candidates will win. But wait, do we even have a candidate? No. So what's the plan?" Away from that, there is plenty of talk going on about how much Nigeria will be borrowing to fund its 2022 budget. This is largely because in the budget proposal presented before a joint session of the National Assembly by President Buhari last Thursday, the Nigerian presidency set aside 1.6 billion naira for the purchase of brand new cars and spares for the presidential fleet in 2022. Yes, you heard that right. Now, compared to the 436 million naira that it cost the Federation in the 2021 budget proposal, spending a steeper 1.6 billion naira from Nigerian taxpayers' money for the purchase of new cars for the presidency has sparked outrage online. Here's some of the comments from social media users. 1 billion naira is never our problem in this country. State governors spend more to change their fleet of cars. But the issue is, what are they using the rest of the money left for? Good question. Ridney says, "Yes, now, if they don't buy new cars, how will they work effectively? And how will they test their newly constructed roads?" That's another angle. All right, I Am Flystar says, "For an outgoing president, please, why can't he just manage the ones they have? Nigeria has problems, real problems." All right, that's all for today on NC Trends. Don't forget to catch up with us on social media at News Central TV and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I am Sean Bankole. Thank you for watching.
You can catch more of those beautiful stories on our website. Now, in sports tonight, Onyobara has the outcomes of World Cup qualifying games, the Boston Marathon, and more. Onye, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Sulai. Let's go straight to the world of sport. Cameroon shrugged off a delayed arrival to Morocco to beat Mozambique 1-0 in African qualifying for the 2022 World Cup. Centre-back Michael Nikandiu netted the winner in the 68th minute to move the indomitable Lions to the top of Group D, 2 points ahead of Ivory Coast. Now, logistic issues had caused delays for Cameroon leaving Douala there, which meant the Cameroon squad only landed less than 12 hours. Elsewhere, we have Captain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who scored as Gabon beat Angola 2-0 to register their first Ethiopia in the same group. And out to the Boston Marathon. Kenya's Benson Kipruto produced a tactical masterclass to win the men's race at the Boston Marathon, as fellow Kenyan Dinah Kipchoge took victory in the women's race. The world's oldest marathon, which is usually held in April, was taking place 910 days after the previous edition in 2019 due to cancellations caused by COVID-19. The Kenyan winner of May's Battle of the Teams timed a run to perfection, and there was no response from the challengers, crossing the line at 2 hours, 9 minutes, 51 seconds. Ethiopian pair of Lema Berhanu and Jamal Yamir took second and third place respectively. The women's race came to life around the 25-kilometer mark as Kenya's Dinah Kipchoge broke away and led at 20 miles.
He says on a perfect run, it's as if the body moves without any effort. His moves are strong and fluid.
And that's it, Sport Update at this time. I am Onyechi Obaro. Back to you, Sulai, for the rest of the news bulletin.
Well, never a fluke for any Kenyan athletes. Congratulations to those athletes doing the continent proud. Many thanks, Onye.
Thank you.
Now we go to our weather desk to look at what to expect in terms of sunshine and precipitation across the continent. As all others are, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major headlines. The trial of 14 alleged killers of Burkina Faso's former leader Thomas Sankara began today in the capital, Ouagadougou. Mozambican rebel leader Mariano Nongo killed in gun battle with government troops. Tunisia's President Kais Saied has named new government. Do follow us on social media. We at News Central TV. You can also download our mobile app on the App Store and Play Store. You can also watch News Central live on Star Times Channel 274, Avio TV Channel 23, Vision 247, Free TV, as well as on YouTube. I'm Sulaiman Aled, and many thanks for watching.